Hey, hey.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, guys? All right.
Episode 11.
Episode 11.
Get to
Episode
talk,
11.
get to talk about such an interesting topic tonight.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah. Well, welcome back, guys. Thank you guys for joining us on the Update Log, episode 11. And as usual, with me are my co-hosts Matt and Greg. And today we are going over a very interesting topic, one that I feel, and I could be wrong on this, but most gamers, most I guess traditional gamers, may not be aware of, and that is uh, the cryptocurrency and NFT market that has come to the gaming industry, the traditional gaming industry, I should say, at least in my opinion. You guys have probably heard of it, maybe in passing. Um, might have heard things like Web3 and blockchain and all that jazz, and that's what we're going to go into tonight. However, before we do that, as usual, I want to check in with you guys. Matt, Greg, how you guys are doing?
I am doing a-okay. I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation because I feel like we all have a bit to say on this issue.
I don't have anything to
Yeah,
say.
we did. Not yet. Not yet. Give Greg some time. He'll have lots to say. Don't worry. So yeah, what about welcome, Lord Gasumba. Thanks for joining us, man. Aramanya, thank you for joining us as always. It's always appreciated to see familiar faces. But all of any of our viewers, do you guys have any idea what I'm talking about? What I just said, in terms of like blockchain and cryptocurrencies and the whole NFT thing. Any idea at all? Have you
I
have
feel
you heard of any games that might have that going on, or talks of that stuff going on?
yeah, I feel like most people who are in the online space know about cryptocurrency and NFTs. Though I guess I'm not sure about just how much they know about the inner workings or specific events that have happened in the past couple of years.
Oh, especially with the amount of change and the growing phenomena of crypto gaming.
The growing and now kind of fading phenomena.
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely it's hanging on by a thread. Yeah.
Yeah. Armenia says she's heard of it. Can't say she has much knowledge of it though, or just something they've heard of. Okay. I think
And that's fair.
a lot of people are that's probably where a lot of people lie on the issue.
Right.
I keep up with I watch I keep up with some news outlets that kind of focus on the online sphere, so I've heard a good bit over the past couple of years about how this whole thing has, NFTs and crypto, especially in the gaming sphere, has gone over the past couple of years, and it's been a ride.
Oh yeah. I mean, just the cryptocurrency market and kind of the blockchain, that whole bit has been a bit of a roller coaster over the last couple of years, especially recently, when eh, more or less the market for cryptocurrencies pretty much bottomed out.
Yeah, I mean it
um,
it's hard to say I don't think it's ever going to completely go away, but I think crypto and all that stuff is starting to settle into a kind of niche of people who
yes,
are going to stay committed to it for whatever reason that
they are.
they are, because like one of the big things that people always talked about when it came to cryptocurrency was how secure the blockchain was, and in the big crash of crypto, you were hearing about all these blockchains being hacked left and right, and
Yes,
and
I
funds
did
being
hear about
siphoned out. It's like, is that what happened to that security, bud? That's the whole thing that you were talking about.
The security piece. Well,
Yeah,
there's.
like
I think
uh,
the biggest draw when it comes to the NFT piece is, obviously there was a lot of hype around the NFTs when they first came out. Lots of, well-known public figures were talking about it. And some of the new age public figures, people like Gary Vee, were promoting it and, really kind of pushing the idea, talking about how they invested in NFTs and yada, yada, yada. But I think the biggest market out there right now, the users of it, are creators, small creators, because it gives them an optional revenue stream. Now, does that make it secure for the people they're selling it to? That's the bigger question, and we can debate on the answer to that. But as far as a revenue stream for creators goes, NFTs definitely represent that. The problem that you run into is that, especially in the gaming industry right now, it's primarily done through cryptocurrency. And then you have to take a look at the cryptocurrency, which, I mean, NFTs are a product of cryptocurrency. Let's just be clear about that. But if you take a look at the crypto markets, I mean, everybody's heard what's going on there. Everybody's watched what's going on there. Some of them have, I'm not going to say fared well, because if you really look at it long and hard, they have not fared well, but they have maintained some value. And even Bitcoin, if you look at it as, over the years average, it's down considerably from what it was
plummeted.
3 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Plummeted.
Some of the other cryptocurrencies are basically worthless. I mean, but
a lot. I mean, like a big thing that happened. What was it called? Luna Coin, which is supposed to be like one of the what they call it, like a staple coin, which was supposed to be something with a consistent value that was meant to be used as a backing for other cryptocurrencies.
Right.
So, and that was the whole idea. So it's supposed to be something that would be consistent, and then that thing crashed, and all the cryptos that were backed by it also crashed. That was a huge thing when that happened.
Oh yeah, for sure. But let's kind of rewind a little bit. And for those of our viewers who are not aware of what kind of the NFT market is and cryptocurrencies and all that jazz are, even though I'm pretty sure, again, we've established most people probably at the very least have heard of it. Kind of let's rewind and let's kind of explain more or less as we understand what cryptocurrencies and kind of what NFTs are, especially to the gaming industry. And again, I could be off the mark, and I'm pretty sure there's tons of explanations and nuance and levels to cryptocurrencies as they apply to just the market in general, but also to the gaming industry. But as I understand it, the concept of Web3 basically is kind of an iteration of the World Wide Web, which seeks to incorporate things like decentralized currencies. And it's all digital. It takes place all online. One of the other big proponents to this was basically it's more secure than actual cash or the other various forms of currencies that we have in the world today. And it was supposed to make commerce and economics more, well, not only more global but more freeform.
Gotcha.
And guys, you can chime in with what you kind of guys have understand about this. I am by no means an expert.
Go right ahead, Matt.
Yeah, well, the way I see it, I mean, I guess I'm no complete expert on how to actually define what cryptocurrency really is. Because if you asked me, I would say it's just a made up currency that people want you to believe has value, so you buy into it. And in a way, that's kind of what it is because these cryptocurrencies have no backing behind their value. So it's just its value is pretty much what people believe it is.
Now, that lends to it swinging wildly in value, which
Exactly.
is what we've seen. I mean, it's it wasn't that long ago that the cryptocurrencies were really talked about as being a good store of value. That was the whole principle they were being sold on a few years ago. Was that this is the new store of value, where traditionally you had solid like gold and silver and stuff like that. So they were the idea was to transfer that over to this crypto-based cryptocurrency, things like Bitcoin. And the controls were supposed to be that there's only a limited number of coins and yada yada yada. But
which, ironically enough, go ahead, Greg. I'll say my piece in a moment.
Well, I was just going to say, as we've seen over the last few years, number one, it doesn't matter that cap that's put on there. It doesn't matter. That is not a solid form to be used for a store of value, because it's still going to be very, very speculative. It's going to be heavily based on the perception of value. And I mean, look what happened. 2020, 2021, 2022, even today. 2020, 2021, the market in crypto took a huge dive. And it has not come back. Now, there's different benchmarks that people try to use when they're trying to promote, trying to lift the value back up there. But they're all false numbers. There's really nothing there. It's not like, like money used to be having a gold standard where you actually, your currency actually had something to back it up. I mean, honestly speaking, the U.S. dollar, many currencies around the world are basically in the same boat because they're all fiat currencies. They're all based on perception of value.
Yeah, that's actually what my point was going to be on. Is, to play devil's advocate a little bit, we're sitting here saying, these coins are based off of perceived value, but so are gold and silver, so is the dollar or the pound or any currency. Any of those things only have value because we as society ascribe value to them.
Correct, but the difference, because there is a difference there, because you're talking about a solid versus a liquid form, basically. Where a currency that is not backed by something that has a tangible value, okay? The only use for your currency is, you could use it as toilet paper, I guess. Might work. But that's what I'm getting at, is what is the real value? What is this actually, if you had to use it for something other than exchanging it for goods and services, what can it do? And that's the difference between a fiat-based currency and something like gold or silver or oil, or, because they are real products that have gold standard. That's an entire, it is. You're right, Garrus. But that's the difference between those two things. When it comes to these fiat currencies, in which the crypto piece falls into, versus something that, just using a gold standard, basically. Something that's backed by something that actually has a real value. You can use it for many things. Yeah. Right. I mean, a dollar bill, I mean, I suppose you could try and use it for many things, but I would say the two things that would come to mind for me is if it wasn't going to be a means of exchange, toilet paper or, light a fire with it, I guess. That's about it.
Yeah, it's wild. It's also interesting because we're seeing such a large potential evolution of things. And I say potential because, as we're going to get into, the rest of the episode, it's not a guarantee. As a matter of fact, hasn't been going so well. Both outside of the gaming industry, but also within the gaming industry, and kind of to now that we have a bit of a better understanding of what blockchain and all that stuff is. Basically, it's a technological piece of currency that, like everything else, has value because certain people have
place any value on it.
Certain people have ascribed value to it, and it's not just a currency thing. I think it's also an outlook of globalizing. I mean, if you can globalize the internet more so than it already is, but more globalizing a lot of the interactions on the internet. But in this case, for video games. Now we get to the piece and kind of a part of the piece of the crux of this particular conversation: NFTs, or as they are known by, non-fungible tokens. Matt, why don't you break that down for us? Because Matt loves this conversation.
So, an NFT is essentially what it's sold as. Is usually a unique piece of art or whatever that has a value in cryptocurrency that you have, the only one that exists. It's yours. Except that's not entirely true, because the image or whatever that you get the NFT of is usually hosted on some server somewhere. And all you have is really a link to it. That's what you, quote unquote, own.
Mm-hmm.
A link to the image that it's hosted on. So NFTs are honestly very ridiculous because, first of all, I mean, their most common form is a piece of art, but I've honestly never seen one that even looks good. They look like shit. And like that's supposed to be the appeal, right? This unique piece of art that you own, and it looks terrible. It's either like, I guess, like one of the biggest ones was the Red Ape things. It's just a monkey that, it's usually the same kind of monkey. The difference in the NFTs is just like put a different hat on it or whatever. And people were sold on these things, like as we said before, like a lot of like famous people presented NFTs and crypto to their audiences and got them to buy in, trying to make them believe that there is value in these things. And it's like and there were some NFTs out there that would be, at the beginning, were worth thousands of dollars, a lot of money. And of course now all that has crashed because there is no real value of it. Like a funny story recently that came to light was of how Justin Bieber bought an NFT that was originally worth like 1.3 million, and now it's worth like a mere, what was it, like 60K? Like,
and there was someone that came up with an NFT thing that was like worth like 62 million or something like that. It was like a piece of art or something like that. I think that one actually was pretty good though. It was I don't know what the technique is called, but basically it was a bunch of other pictures that made one larger picture. It's a technique. I can't remember what it's called.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what that's called either. But yeah, and like NFTs don't only take the form of like images. Like there have been games that have utilized NFTs. That it could take the form as like a piece of equipment for a character, or maybe the character itself. There was probably one of the most successful NFT games, and I do air quotes with that because it's not so successful anymore. Was
Yeah.
Axiom Infinity, which was I'm trying to remember exactly. It was kind of like where the NFTs were little creatures that you would like think kind of Pokemon-ish, where you kind of train them up and send them out on little quests or whatever. And of course that game it got hacked, and millions of dollars worth of Ethereum were siphoned out because they actually laxed their security on the blockchain. So that was fun. From Brodesius. Yes, Square Enix. Yes,
Yes.
they were definitely trying to push for NFT.
I was gonna get to that one, Bordicious, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
not in 14, the MMO. Thankfully, Yoshi P in all his fucking wisdom was like, nah, not on my watch. But the head of Square Enix, God, I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me.
See, the problem for these companies is that they, in the trading in these NFTs is typically done with cryptocurrency.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's Yasuhiro Fukushima. The head of Square Enix basically wanted to bring NFTs to the Final Fantasy games. I don't really know if there was one in particular that he wants to put it in, or if plans are still moving forward in that regard. But yeah, he definitely wanted to have that in there, for whatever fucking reason.
Well, the thing is that like if you're the one selling the NFTs, there's a lot of money to be made because you're selling something that has little value, but putting a big price tag on it.
Little.
Like as we just said, Justin Bieber bought just a simple online image file for over $1 million. If you're a company that wants to make money for little effort, there it is right there, man. But sadly, like the AAA companies started trying to catch on to that fad too late. People were already wisening up to like just how worthless the NFTs were and how sketchy the whole like scene was. So you have like Square Enix, they tried. Ubisoft did their Ubisoft Quartz thing. That didn't go well. Sega for a bit was trying to push for it, but actually just recently came out and said, yeah, no,
ain't doing that.
Yeah. They're just like, nah, we're not doing it. It makes for bad like game design and stuff. It's no reason in doing it. So like, yeah, they're backing off because they realize people aren't gonna buy it.
People are not gonna buy it. But the thing for me is, here's the thing: I get it from an internet perspective. Like purely that are not focused on gaming, but purely for the internet's perspective, I understand the push or the evolution, the want to evolve the internet. I mean, the internet's been the same for how many years? 30, 40 years now? Before that, it was... So for those who don't know, the internet was not meant to be what it is today. The internet actually started out as a way for government agencies to communicate. It was called the intranet at the time. I mean, you guys can Google it. It's information that's out there. But I can't remember exactly what events led to it, but basically it kind of got turned on its head. and it is what we know it today. And it hasn't really changed much. I mean, yeah, the websites get fancier and more involved, I should say, but the core structure of the internet hasn't changed. So I understand the want to. You don't believe me or Google. It was made for YouTube. Honestly,
what?
Berdicious, you're not fucking wrong, man.
I mean, that's all I use it for.
That's literally what 99% of the shit. And Instagram, you forgot Instagram. But and TikTok now, it's another one. Anyway, so I get it for that. The want to kind of evolve the system that we have now. I get it. But in terms of gaming, I mean, here's the thing: you can actually rope in the whole loot box bullshit that was going on for a little while there into this, because that's essentially what it is. Like, all of this it is basically just fucking gambling in one form or another. I mean, yeah, that too. But we will discuss that on stream. We can have that conversation off stream.
Prawn? What's prawn?
Never heard of that. Is that like Tron?
Prawn is the adult version of Tron. It's the next it's the next level. It's the hidden level. Anyway, but yeah, like I don't understand why certain game companies, and from what you were saying, Matt, it seems like a number of them were considering. I don't get it. Any guys in our audience who are kind of more, I guess, business focused? Because I can definitely assure you that's probably a business move of some kind. Because there ain't no developer out there who'd be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's put this in our game. I really can't see any game developer really being like, yeah, this is a good idea.
There,
And
there you go.
Yeah.
You got it.
Old man Garrus says perceived value based on absolutely nothing. Yeah, pretty much. No IP, no copyright, or any legal control associated with the image, and nothing to prevent or control people. Exactly. It's and I guess because of that, it kind of hits on the whole decentralized and kind of global approach to things. But I'm still just trying to wrap my head around the whole game thing. Like,
companies have tried to justify NFTs being in the gaming sphere. They've tried to give points about what it can do and all this stuff. Like, a couple things that I've heard. One, it's like, oh, you can take this NFT with its stats and all this stuff between games. Like, what are you talking about? That's not how it works. You'd have to have these games built to be compatible with that NFT. And how likely are you to ever see that? Pretty much two games where essentially you could bring a character from one game over to the other. That requires the development of both games to have that functionality built in. And also, that doesn't even have to exist in the form of NFTs. That could easily be done without those, with simple character data. Another thing they've talked about with item trading or some, stuff like that, is like, oh, well, you can use the blockchain to track who's owned it and how kind of its trading history. Well, guess what? Roblox does that already. They have a system where there are items, because there's actually a big market for item trading in Roblox, and it tracks who has had that item and stuff like that. It's like every reason that the companies have tried to push for why NFTs are the future of gaming and stuff like that is stuff that is entirely impossible without them. So it's like, all right, we're still waiting to hear why this is a good thing and not just a cash grab, essentially. And that's why it's not going well, because people know by now it's a cash grab. They're just trying to essentially use NFTs as a way to sell even more overpriced microtransactions, essentially.
Well,
Yeah,
there was a
it's
there was a theory. There's a theory in these games about the online marketplace and developing a social economy within the game that you could make actual money. Now, there's several steps in there, but that was the idea. I think predominant idea was that it would allow the players to play for real stakes.
Mhm.
And essentially, I mean, if you really look at cryptocurrency, the advent of the internet and being able to do these things digitally is what makes it crypto. But the concept has been around forever. Think about it this way. If you go to a fair festival, okay, you go through the little ticket booth and you pay the person $10 or whatever, and you get some tickets. All right. Now those tickets only have value inside the fair. Although you just purchased tickets. That's it. You just paid $10 for what probably cost them 10 cents. They now have your cash. You have some tickets. And you can use the tickets to go around and buy things. But if you don't use up all the tickets, which, I mean, you usually don't. I mean, you got to look at how big the event is and how many of those people are walking, going home with tickets in their pocket. That's money left on the table.
A lot.
Right. And that's concept very similar to cryptocurrency. You're paying for this ticket, this cryptocurrency. Okay. So your real hard money goes in and you get this soft money thing. All right. Supposedly. And then the idea is that you can take that and hopefully there's a marketplace that grows up around using that as a means of exchange. Therefore, it becomes a store of value. And then that market kind of interacts, and people who have this currency then interact with each other and trade it, creating the assumed value. Now, when it comes to games, it gives the opportunity for the players, because you're still going to pay for the game. You still got to buy the game. It gives an alternate way for the players to be able to pay for things in the game. And essentially, the people that are spending in that money, they're buying the NFTs and stuff like that. The community itself begins to feed off of each other, more or less is what happens. It creates the semblance that you're getting paid to play. But the reality of it is that all of these transactions are not coming from the company. You're buying something that all they had to do was, whatever, tell an algorithm, here, make me this. Okay, now I bought my NFT. And then I'm sure a portion of that money they're going to take. Retail gift cards. Yeah, perfect example. And retail gift cards, even worse thing about retail gift cards. Now, when the idea of gift cards first came out, they functioned very much like a secured credit card, where you put $100 on that gift card and then you had $100 to spend. Somewhere along the line, they got the idea in their head that, you know what? Let's put a limit on how long you have to spend that money. So now most gift cards, you've got 6 months. You get a gift card from you got 6 months. And if you don't use that gift card in 6 months, poof, your money's gone.
Fucking scam is what that is.
Yeah, the fun thing about listening to everything you just said is like you using examples of what NFTs were promised to be able to do, is that you just explained several reasons why NFTs do nothing new.
They're basically newfangled gift cards.
And
tickets.
The idea of the online marketplace for these games, it's like those already exist in many games. CS:GO, for one, has a pretty active marketplace for like weapon skins and stuff like that. But that doesn't use NFTs, and that people are ascribing value to those things. So it's like, why what purpose does the NFT serve for that end? It's already happening. Why should we do NFTs? They're not offering anything unique.
Square Enix and the original Final Fantasy games. Now, I'm pretty sure WoW has had these issues over the years as well. But Square Enix and the unused cards out there, wow, yeah, $20 billion. But so yeah, $20 billion of poofed money that, you know, somebody made $20 million. You know, I'm sure many people made money off that, but somebody made $20 million for absolutely nothing, just for convincing you to buy this little plastic card that you know, you have an assumed value in.
I'd say really? 20 billion, not million.
Yeah, 20 billion.
Jesus.
Sorry, did I say million?
You did.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. So Square Enix, and I use them as an example because I experienced this. I played the Final Fantasy games, multiplayer Final Fantasy games when they came out through Square Enix. And one of the issues that they were always trying to combat was the secondary market, because their crafting system and their economic system, there was a secondary market where people would go and play the game and they would collect gold in the game, and then they would sell the gold outside of the game. So in other words, you could go and send this guy through, or gal or whatever, you could send them $20 through PayPal and they would send you 100,000 gold in the game.
Yeah, a lot of MMOs have done
right,
that type of thing has sprung up.
But that's always been a big issue for these companies, is they look at that as being their money. So they've been trying to reel that money in to figure out, you know, how do we put our foot down on this black market and get those purchases back in house, so that rather than having these third party people doing this, we can get a piece of that, because that's profits that we're losing. That's, you know, that's an easy way to look at it. And, well, along comes cryptocurrency and NFTs. Wow, here's a way that we can do this. We can allow people that play the game to earn crypto coins in the game, and then we can provide something for them to use that crypto on. Now, you could sell the crypto, sure, but why sell it when you can buy this beautiful NFT and you can own this piece of the game?
Looks like a Bionicle.
Well, here's a big question for you. What happens to your NFT when the game goes away, when they decide to shut the server down?
Yep.
You paid you paid $1,000 for that NFT that's completely fucking worthless now. Pardon my French, but
I mean,
nobody cares.
Yeah, it's an adult stream. We don't give a shit.
Yeah.
We don't care here. But yeah, no, exactly. Like it's you're paying for something that's temporary, and like Matt said earlier in the stream, usually it's a link to the thing. You don't even own the thing.
You just own access to it, but that access can be taken at any time.
Can be revoked. Yeah. The server can go down. The website can go down. You know, the guy that put it up there and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm taking it off. Yeah. It doesn't, like, it's...
And that's like precisely one of the reasons why there have been so many crypto and NFT scams. Because people are putting in a lot of money to these things that they don't really own and has no value.
That's the truth.
The creators of certain cryptos or certain NFTs will just take that money and run.
Yeah, like you're giving them actual money, like real money, for just a digital piece of something.
Yeah, because the NFT and crypto market they're not regulated at all.
No, so they're only regulated by the people who are on said blockchain.
Yeah,
you know, so that was one of the proponents of why it's so much better than regular, you know, typical currencies and gold and silver and, you know, dollars or pounds or what have you, because you know everybody can see the ledger. Yeah, it's a publicly available like ledger of things, so you can see what's been traded, I guess, is one way to put it, I suppose. So they were touting it, oh, it's so secure and this, that, and the third. And I mean, it's not. It really isn't, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Like, that's another thing. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, and most people don't, they just hear, oh, you can make, hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars, if you do this thing. They have no idea what the fuck's going on, no idea about the technology, how it functions, none of that. They just go into it, and yeah, they lose pretty much a lot of money, if not everything.
Yeah, I mean, here's the common way that a lot of these scams went. They followed the way of the Ponzi scheme, essentially, because you come out with your NFT or whatever, and you have someone famous give it a shout out, sell it to their audience. So this audience, believing in the influencer or whoever, they buy in. The price of it all goes up. And people see the price going up when they got in early. They're like, oh, wow, this is great. But what usually happens is that the owners usually carried a lot of that. They have a lot. And so once the value goes up to a certain point, they sell everything they have. And then suddenly, that value of the NFT plummets. And then suddenly it's worthless, because everyone else starts panicking and selling, and then there's no value. And the ones who pretty much started the whole thing and started with that crazy amount, they're the ones who run off with the money. And that's the most common way that a lot of people got scammed out of a lot of money. Like, a story that got huge was Logan Paul, actually. Massive influencer. And he, sorry about that. He marketed this NFT game, he was calling it. Crypto Zoo, where the idea was that you would buy an NFT egg that would hatch into a little, like, a unique animal thing that, supposedly was supposed to have been handmade by artists.
Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, later was revealed that they just kind of photoshopped shit together. Yes, primo. But
that's premium shit right there.
But there was so much shady stuff going behind the scenes. A YouTuber actually goes by CoffeeZilla actually did a 3-part series detailing the entire incident, because lo and behold, like so many other NFTs, it crashed. And a lot of people lost money, and the entire, even the game was abandoned. Like, it didn't, if you wanted to play the game, it didn't even work. Those eggs you have, useless. Didn't hatch, couldn't do anything with them.
Can't even sell them off.
Yeah, exactly, because they're worthless. And, I mean, long story short, what I explained earlier was exactly what happened. They held a lot of those NFTs and the value, like Logan and his, team, the people that he gathered for this project. And in CoffeeZilla's video, like, he actually brings up, because he managed to get internal messages of them talking about doing that. Like, they had a lot of stuff and then they'd sell it. Boom. And then they got all the money, and all those people that listened to Logan Paul lost a lot of money. And there's so many stories that go just like that. Like, we were talking about earlier how, like, at the onset of NFTs and crypto, you had all these famous people, like all celebrities and stuff, going like, oh, hey, look at this.
Look at this particular currency or this one. Or
it's the exact same thing. They're getting their people, their followers, to buy into it, so the value goes up, so that they can then, at that peak, sell everything that they have for that huge profit.
Right.
And which then, of course, causes the price to crash down, because
it's like
had
bogus stock.
sold it all. Yeah, it's like stock, except the stock market is regulated to make sure shenanigans are kept to a minimum.
Mhm.
Crypto and NFT, though, not
It's
at
the
all
Wild Wild West,
regulated,
baby.
so shenanigans galore.
Seriously, memes. It's a land of memes, is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's wild. Oh man, it's really hard to wrap my head around the fact that it's even infiltrated gaming. And granted, I will say this: you gotta love the gaming community because the majority of us are like, nah, get that shit out of here. Majority of us are not having that crap, because it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. I mean, we already got to deal with, as Greg pointed out earlier, gold spammers. We already got to deal with those guys. We don't need this shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, like no.
The thing is that the NFTs in the gaming industry just would have been another form of monetization that
Yeah, it would have been another loot
was
box situation.
even worse than the monetization tactics you see already out in the gaming industry, like the loot boxes,
Well,
like the
I
NFTs,
mean,
and that would have just been another step up.
yeah, I mean,
And that's when you kind of
we know a
see
couple of companies
and
who
that's when
would
you
have
kind of
jumped on that.
Oh, definitely. And that's where you saw the gaming community, like, you saw the limits of what they're willing to deal with and how much they're willing to put up, because the companies, like, there are a lot who push monetization way too far. And
Yeah.
and when they try to bring
Looking at you,
NFTs, Bethesda, I mean, EA especially is terrible. I mean,
EA,
they're the
Blizzard
ones
Activision.
who like took their loot box and gambling like microtransactions so far that it actually made like national news, and got like legislators grilling them like, hey, what's going on here? But like NFTs is a step even above that, and that's when the gaming community came together and said, no, we're not gonna we put up with a lot already, we're not gonna put up with that. And honestly, it's very encouraging to see that there is a limit to how far these companies can push things before the community
People finally,
pushes back.
Yeah, it again. It is. I mean, it's like the and this is a smaller community, although I feel like it impacted the gaming community at large. Was the Wizards of the Coast OGL situation? They put something out, and the community knew it wasn't in the best interest of the player, and they were like, no, we're not going to stand for that, and they won. See, that's the thing. I think that's another thing. Most of the time, these companies can kind of do what they want for the most part, or do what they want, but they also kind of get away with it. I think the OGL situation with WotC was one of the first times, not the only first time, or sorry, excuse me, if the only time where a community pushed back and a company kind of relented, like really relented, at least for now.
I'm sure they'll be back with something.
Oh, they'll be back with some other bullshit, and I'm pretty sure they've already started. Legalese is a whole other language that most people don't speak. And they've got plenty of lawyers on that team to legal the shit out of that. So it looks nice. It's a turd. It's a ribbon. It's a bow wrap turd, essentially, what it comes out to. But it's wild. Hey, Gemma. Welcome.
Yeah, and I guess we're kind of like drifting into overall just corporate greed, but I mean that is why they wanted to get into NFTs, because they saw an opportunity to try to get more money out.
I really don't like this
Out of
BS.
the players.
Charging me for things that have no value just because you can.
As little effort as possible, which that's definitely what NFTs are, because for the art that they are, so many look like shit. So
that is a very good point. A lot of them do look like fucking ass.
Yeah,
but I will say this: art or true art and how good it looks is in the eye of the beholder, Matt. So you can't judge people.
Okay, like there is some truth to that, but like, but
Quite
there's
frankly, I
also
couldn't agree
art
more.
that is most people. You can have art that a lot of people like, and art that most people don't like.
Yep.
You know, it's not all art is equal, and
Oh God, no.
if you look at like just the NFTs, I've never seen one that ever appealed to me, and I don't think I've really seen anyone who was like, "Oh yeah, this looks great," who wasn't like just on pure copium at that point, just trying to convince themselves to justify their purchase.
Oh yeah, it's
yeah, I mean, we've gotten to a point like by today, people have wisened up. They've watched so many cryptos and NFTs crash. They've heard the stories of all the scams going on, that the average person by now
is decently
any of
informed.
this is just, they're gonna stay away because there's no security in it, whether it's a scam or just it naturally crashing. So that's why
we've seen how it's gonna go.
Yeah, so that's why at this point, my belief is that it's just sort of settling into a niche of people who, like, the crypto bros are going to stay committed to it, but it's no longer, at least from what I see and what I believe, it's no longer something that I would consider as mainstream as it was like a couple of years ago when the whole craze started.
No, it's not.
You don't have all the famous people talking about it anymore. It's just going to be
they've gotten their slice of the pie and they've checked out.
Yeah, they did for sure. They got their that was the whole thing. They just
slice and they're like, all right, bye.
yeah, took advantage of their fan bases.
Oh yeah, 100%. And here's the thing though, I'm all for innovation. I'm all for kind of pushing the bounds of things, but
some boundaries don't need to be pushed.
None of that, but this ain't it, man. This ain't it. And if they wanted to, do something like it or something similar, first of all, you need regulation. That's the biggest thing. You need regulation, man, of some kind.
Oh yeah, because like it beyond all the scams and shady stuff going on, a lot of NFTs were actually just stolen art. They'd steal someone else's art and turn it into an NFT that they would sell. That happened a lot. There was also an NFT that, God, I can't remember which celebrity was behind it. I think it was Tara Strong, a very well-known voice actress who voiced a lot of very loved characters in cartoons and stuff. She got on, I believe this was her, but she got on this NFT train where the NFT was this kind of like AI voice thing of other voice actors. So you'd buy the NFT of, X voice actor, and you'd pretty much be able to use it to produce, that voice actor's voice and get to say whatever.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
Obviously, that didn't go well with the rest of the voice acting community because they're like, well, hold up. First of all, using our voices, and second of all, you're trying to sell it to people so they don't have to hire us instead.
Yeah. Not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gemma. It NFT stands for non-fungible token. Basically, it's a form of quote unquote currency, or rather, it's attached to a piece of cryptocurrency, usually in the form of a piece of art or something like that.
Usually a piece of art, I'll say, quote unquote, that looks like shit, has no real value. Just don't buy into them. it's a bad idea. They're
Yeah,
trying to advertise them as investment opportunities.
So has anybody here bought an NFT?
I mean, I guess I've never bought one, but I guess technically I do have one.
yeah, we do.
Well, we technically we have several.
Yeah, we do have
Oh,
several,
well,
actually.
Yeah, but
should we rip that
It was at
Band-Aid
this
off?
moment that he knew.
Kind of talk about how we got involved at one point.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, so yes, guys, we do speak from a level of experience in this regard. Early in the Vanguard Studios career, I should say, and career in content creation, we worked with a particular company. I'm not sure if we should name them or not.
no.
I don't want
We can keep their name.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like an asshole. But basically, we worked with a particular company, creating some content for them. It was an NFT web-based game. That, as far as I know, did not do so well and has not been doing well, and I could be wrong, ever since the kind of crash of the whole NFT market. And let's just say
Brandisius unfollowed.
Unfollowed.
Look, just hear us
Yeah,
out. Just,
bro.
Hold on.
Hear us out, man. Hear us out. Let us plead our case before you decide. So we didn't necessarily, at least
I would.
I don't, and
agree
again,
with
I don't
him,
want to
but
speak
then we'd both
for
be wrong.
Greg and Matt and Sarah, who's the other party involved in this. But I think I can safely say we weren't sniffing the glue. We weren't drinking the Kool-Aid. But you know, this was something new for the studio, and we decided, hey, let's give it a shot. It could go somewhere.
They
It went straight to the
money.
fucking trash, is where it went.
I mean, the end result is that none of us were like excited for it, but you know, we were a new studio looking for some work, and they had some money. So, I mean, the thing is, you know, I guess I probably shouldn't go into too much detail about the work itself, but I mean, we created some mechanics for them. Essentially, we weren't on like the development side actually building anything. We just kind of, you know, came up with some mechanics that they would then use.
And did some story beats and stuff for them as well.
Yeah, but like the thing is that like they had no idea what they even wanted, and it personally drove me crazy because like on the earlier side, you know, we were being told like, oh well, we're making this game, but it's meant for like investors, so try to keep it simple because not all of them are really gamers. It's like, all right, we'll keep it simple. Then like,
it was too simple.
2 weeks in, they're like, well, we think you should, you know, make something for the gamers. Like what? That's the exact opposite of what you told us.
Yeah, and here, and that's the thing with the whole blockchain and the whole NFT things. I mean, there was a talk at the Game Developers Conference last year, I believe, where they had that conversation about the NFTs and about, you know, Web3 and blockchain and cryptocurrency and all that stuff making its way into the industry, and primarily, obviously, into video games, into the digital gaming arena, and I mean, everything we've pointed out was pointed out in that talk is a lot of this stuff is predatory. A lot of it is typically ends up being a scam. And, you know, the thing about it for me, and this is purely talking from a studio perspective, I wouldn't risk my reputation on that. That's kind of what I'm having trouble also now that we're having this discussion, getting my head around it. Why would you risk your, like, Nintendo, From Software, you know, and name any of the legacy heavy hitters, Sega, PlayStation, Sony, you know, Microsoft and Xbox. You know, these guys are staples in the industry. Why would you risk your reputation on that?
Hey, Matt, you want to check your camera? You keep freezing on me, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, looking at our,
We get stuff like
in
that.
our Streamlabs, I look fine. I'm moving around.
To
on
you.
the stream. Yeah. I mean, I guess I can refresh my Streamlabs real quick, see if that fixes it. Hold on, real quick.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I've been able to ping him a couple times. His connection's weak tonight. But yeah, that experience with this group was, I mean, good experience on the creation side. You know what I mean? Really good stuff there.
It was a good kind of first. It was one of our first clients. Also, it was good experience. Regardless of the outcome of everything, it was a good experience. Yeah, Big Brother stopping the truth from coming out from Old Man Garrus. You're not wrong.
Here's the thing with this. Just to be clear, I mean, we are under contract with that particular group, and it was not a bad experience at all. The bad part of the experience was the fact that we decided to take partial payment in NFTs for the work done. That's the bad piece to it. The game, the studio that we worked with, the development group, all good people. Not an issue.
Yeah.
The mistake on that was made entirely on our side of things, and that was to trade in a currency that isn't really a currency. Now, in our defense, I mean, we only took part of the payment as these NFTs.
Yeah,
right. That's originally originally in the contract they wanted to pay us entirely in cryptocurrency. It's that's not happening.
Yeah, well, that was the offer. I mean, that was the offer for pretty much a second contract for continued work. Because first it was like real money, and then like I think we each got one NFT, which obviously was valued way less than what we were first told they would be valued, and now they're essentially worthless.
Well,
to come back and do more work, they're like, we can only pay you in NFTs.
Well,
like, here's no real money. And we're like, nah.
That's the important thing to point out here again is that what we were the verbiage, what we were first told. Well, I mean, it was the market value at the time. That's the problem when it comes to cryptocurrencies and NFTs. In a nutshell, right there. It's now I'm sure that you know what I mean. I'm not saying that there's not a level or potentially a level of for lack of a better way to put it, crookedness. Okay. There isn't that someone isn't being taken advantage of somewhere along the line. I am not a fan. Okay. But the thing to understand with this is, and here's where the problem comes in for people dealing with this currency. When we first signed on to this contract and agreed to this, these NFTs were worth roughly $4,200 each. Mm-hmm. By the time, and this is rolling into 2020, by the time we finished the work, I mean, complete, everything said and done, and everything approved and accepted, project done, and we get paid, the NFTs had been reduced by almost 60% in value. So we lost 60% of that portion of the contract just through the value of the NFT. That's not any fault of the client. It was our fault. We accepted this. We did this.
And so. and again, it goes back to the extreme volatility of and unreliability of the cryptocurrency market as it stands now.
Yeah. Because like another part was that it was honestly just bad timing for the project as a whole, because during the development of that project is when like the first major Ethereum drop happened. So like if I recall right, like pretty much all of their assets were in Ethereum. So during that development, most of their value that they even had plummeted, which is probably why they had to give us that second offer that they did, but obviously we weren't going to take that.
Yeah, and again, this is just to illustrate a point where we're on the other side of that line where we had to deal with it, and the market then, it's a bit ago, was volatile. It's still volatile. It's unreliable. It's kind of like the court of public opinion. It sways. It depends on where the wind's blowing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
like a.
And I'm sorry, currency.
Yeah,
cold hard fucking cash shouldn't depend on how somebody's feeling today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a way more
how popular it is, or is that the cool thing on the block? So no, hell no.
Well, that's the flaw in currency, period. Overall, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but just reeling it back into what we're talking about with NFTs and cryptocurrency. It's even just using this platform that we're talking about, the way this works with crypto gaming is you essentially have to take your cash and go to a third party where you buy the crypto. So you trade your cash for the crypto, and then you take the crypto back, and then you pay for what it is that you want in the game. That's the concept here, how this works, because the game can't issue the crypto, but they accept the crypto to pay for the NFTs. Now the idea was, coming up to 2019, you look at the market. I mean, cryptocurrency just kept going up and up and up and up and up, and a Bitcoin was at like $60,000. I mean,
it
just
was wild.
Ridiculous amounts of money for this stuff. And that was the idea as well. Geez, if we can, let's do this, because we can charge somebody equivalent value now, and we can just make money on the appreciation of the item, because our exchange is going to not be for equal value, because these things just keep gaining value. So if I'm going to charge you $100 right now worth of crypto to buy my game, all I got to do is hold on to that crypto for a little while, and it's going to be worth $120 or $150 or maybe even $200. The problem for the industry is there was no foresight to, we had no idea that COVID-19 was going to happen. Somebody did, I'm sure, but, different story.
Different tinfoil hat.
But, that's the thing is, they built these businesses which should have been a successful model. Now, is it a good thing, a greedy thing?
It's a bit of everything.
There's issues with that. There really is, because the value proposition's just not there. But it went the opposite direction. All of a sudden the market started to crash, and there was nothing to back it up. That was the problem. It was all just based on the consumer idea that there was value there. And there really isn't value there. So then all this cryptocurrency, they're charging, $100 for this game. Well, with the expectation that it's going to keep going up, and we're going to have all this money, and the crypto, we can use crypto to pay for all these things, and then we can just cash a little bit of it in here and there when we need hard money cash. Suddenly it's worth half of what it was. Suddenly they weren't selling their game for $100 anymore. They're selling it for $50. And now you got to go back and look at, okay, well, this doesn't fit my model. I needed to sell this game at $70 a crack just to pay the bills, and the sales are already made, but the money that I have is only worth $50 a game now. So suddenly you're upside down on the deal. It's kind of like buying a car, but
yeah,
depreciates real freaking fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like honestly, because you talked about before, like how when you play the game using these NFTs, you generate some of those coins, which you can then either exchange for some crypto or continue to use in the game.
Yeah.
But and that's why this term play to earn arose from that idea. And from a game design perspective, that's just not what a game is about. The moment you start bringing a way to earn money into it, is that, and are you playing that for enjoyment anymore?
It goes back to what I was talking about before, though, Matt, and that's that black market economy piece.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
These companies had to figure out how to pull those people into the game so that they could make money too.
Yeah, and the thing about that is that because of that philosophy, the games were built around money and the supposed promise that people could make money, not around the philosophy of just playing a game for fun. So of course,
who does that?
So many of these games didn't do well because they weren't designed with fun in mind. Fun was an afterthought.
These games were made primarily for making money.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw that with our own work that we did for that one studio, where none of them were, they said it themselves, none of them were gamers. They had never made a game before. They were looking to make money from this, and they wanted us to make the game and how it worked.
They want, and here's the thing: the process of gamification is nothing new. I mean, again, it's you do a thing, you get a reward for it. Or there's a progression system. There's a sense of, I did the thing, now give me my dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Give me my thing. I want, whether it's victory, an item, whatever gear, whatever it is. And
pretty flashing lights. Ooh.
Yeah, shinies. Give me shinies.
Yeah, a business is a business, guys. That's what it comes down to. A business is a business. That's the thing. And it doesn't. You have to give of yourself for any of these things. Any business, you have to give of yourself. Okay, there's a tremendous amount, and this is something that we can speak from personally because this is what we do. There's a tremendous amount of your own resources that go into building a game, even a module, even an adventure, building a stream. Any streamers on here? I mean, old man Garrus can speak to this as well. He's a streamer. There's a tremendous amount of yourself, your time, your energy that goes into putting this together, developing the content piece. Building a game is it is a huge, long project, and especially like a video game where you not just have to develop mechanics and concept, but then you actually have to go in and design, create the game. Why do you think it took 7 years for Cyberpunk 2077 to be released? And then it wasn't really done when they released it.
It wasn't finished. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a lot of time and effort. So, I understand the business aspect. You have costs.
Right,
I
and
think the production for Cyberpunk 2077 was between 50 and 100 million.
I bring that. Yeah, it was. I bring that up because there's a huge difference between being a hobbyist and running a game or creating your own game to play with your friends and doing this for a business or for a living. Huge difference.
Oh yeah.
On one hand, you have complete freedom. You can work on it when you want, how you want, create whatever you want. Doesn't matter whether anybody likes it or not. Only one that matters is whether you like it or not. On the other hand, where it is a business, I mean, you've got to create something that you can create a market around. You have to create value for the people that you intend to present the product to. And that's, that's that value proposition piece is, people are, if there's no value to it, they're not going to buy it from you. Simple as that.
Yeah.
You might as well have been doing it as a hobby because you just put all that time and effort and energy into building nothing. It'll have value to you because it's your game. But if it doesn't have value to the audience, then
anybody else, then it's not worth it. Yeah.
And I get that when you make a game, you got to make money from it. Because I mean, that's how you make a career out of it. You got to
pay bills.
Find something to get money from it. But I guess the thing is trying to find that balance of how much you're trying to milk out of people. Because I mean, unless you're doing a free to play, there's already going to be an upfront cost. Yeah. And as we said before, there's a limit to how much people are going to put up with monetization. And if people can tell that you're sacrificing the integrity of the game itself in order to try to make a buck off of them, people will sniff that. They'll be able to sniff that a mile away.
Oh yeah.
And at that point, most people are going to stay away from it. At that point, your only hope is that you find the whale, which for people who aren't familiar with that term, it's a pretty sleazy term in the gaming industry, usually for free-to-play games that are completely reliant on microtransactions. The whale is essentially the person who spends an ungodly amount on the game's microtransactions.
Perfect example is Diablo Immortal.
Yeah, Diablo Immortal is built for the whales because
is that thing still there? Is that still a thing?
I'm pretty sure it's still running, and it's actually made a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, because
the idea of the whale is that a lot of these games are supported. They are able to run because while most people don't, spend much money on a free-to-play game, or maybe only a little, the few people who spend a lot of money are the ones who keep these games afloat.
Yeah. So Cloud Imperium, that's the company that is building Star Citizen. I will say this though, I see where you're going with Old Man Garrus. I have played that game, and how am I going to put this? Because I kind of disagree with you on that in that regard. I understand why that company has gotten a bad rap. But what they are producing, and what the NFT market is, and the NFT market in gaming,
I would agree with you. I
mean,
then we'd both.
It's like apples to oranges. They again, I've played Star Citizen, and it's something I personally am excited for because of what they're doing. And while I don't know the early years of that development pipeline. Oh yes, yes, that is very true. That is one of the things I will say. I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I'm kind of in the middle with that one, primarily because the ships are opt-in. You don't have to buy them. However, let's be honest, it's a shiny ship. And they do a fantastic. If you haven't played Star Citizen or seen anything on it, I highly recommend you check it out. Just because the level of detail in this game is ridiculous. Anyway, but it's a shiny, and if you got the money, and if you're a whale, you're gonna drop money on it. I don't know if that's a model that they're gonna keep once the game is released, in the next 20 or so years. It's to give
when
you guys
it finally comes out.
Yeah, to give you guys a base of knowledge, Star Citizen has been in development for over 10 years, which is not unheard of for an MMO because it's supposed to be an MMO. It's supposed to be a space simulation MMO. So it's not, according to their webpage, this is from Old Man Garrus. According to their webpage, 559 million raised up to say via all their yes, exactly. Yeah, that's one of the things that people kind of say about the game. It's like, oh, you've raised all this money to make this game. Why isn't it out yet? And again, I can't speak to the early years of the development pipeline for this particular IP, but some of the research I've done, because I was on a kick for a while, because it looks fantastic and it plays really well. It's nice, especially if you're into space sims and all that jazz. So I don't know who's handling the purse over there. I don't know why it's taking this long. The only thing that I can say from being a developer, knowing kind of what goes into game development, both from a technological standpoint and just from a design standpoint, they're trying to do something big. I mean, everything in their world is based off of actual science and actual physics, and that's hard to really implement within a lot of the modern game engines that we have. I believe they're using Unreal, I think, or they could be using an in-house engine. I do not know. Exactly. And I know you're being sarcastic, Old Man Garrus, but they are working on that thing. They are working on things like the way fabric deforms, drags on ship when you're leaving LEO or low Earth orbit, and Atmo, and how they operate in space. There's a lot of like real world things they're trying to push into the game to make it as accurate and authentic as possible. But yeah, 550. God damn. That's the GDP of some small countries.
Overdeveloped.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've never played it myself, but that's kind of sounds like where it's going. Because going so far as to do like fabric deformation. that sounds like a very non-essential thing. That like, why have? Because first of all, like while running the game, that's processing power. And if they're going to have a lot of stuff like that, I feel like you're going to need a mega PC to even run the damn thing.
Oh, no, yeah. Like, you got some guys. And granted, at this point, because it's still in the alpha stages, I've been playing some of it. Some of the guys that we know, Aegis to name. I don't know, the audience isn't going to know who that is, but, he's been playing it a bit. And yeah, you need a pretty beefy PC to really run it. And granted, at this point, that's only because they haven't, optimization still happening. And with the information that Old Man Garrus just put out, the fact that they're making their own engine, that adds tons of time to the development pipeline. It just is what it is.
So, gentlemen, since we're going to be running over tonight, obviously,
okay.
that's all right. That's all right. Let's take a short break, and we'll do a little bit of that bill paying stuff that we were talking about earlier.
There you go.
Please do grab something to drink, use the restroom or whatever. I am going to put up the screen and let Twitch do their ad thing for a couple minutes while we step away, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, and we'll do some Q&A and stuff like that when we get back. Sell us those NFTs. No,
don't have any NFTs to sell, but yeah.
It'll be never.
Yeah, NFTs will never be coming out of the Vanguard Studios if I have anything to say about it, ever.
All right, we'll be right back, guys.
sit back in your seats, get something to eat, and watch this movie. Don't let the kiddies see it, because, well, we'll let you hear the beginning first. Thank you.
All right. And we are back. So, no NFTs to sell here, old man Garrus. I'm sorry, man. I know you really wanted some, but I just don't have any for you.
Nope. Not today. Not today. But yeah, now let's open it up to the crowd. Let's see what they got to say about it and kind of their feelings on the whole thing.
Just
anybody here?
I was just going to say, just an FYI, from our standpoint as a studio, I pretty much take care of the operations side of our business, and we will not be accepting NFTs in the future.
Nope. No, sir. No, that ship has sailed. Thank God. But yeah, guys, anyone who's come across the various monetization pieces of the gaming industry, anything from loot boxes and NFTs, microtransactions. Like, what are y'all's feelings about that as gamers, as people who partake in the various forms of games? What do you guys think? I'm interested to see.
So, go ahead and put that in the chat if you have something you would like to share, and we will definitely address that. There's a little bit of lag in the stream, so we're not necessarily going to sit and wait. When it comes to, so what has happened with the NFTs for us? Rob, you're kind of familiar with that. So what does that look like? In
terms of what exactly?
I mean, we already kind of discussed the valuation piece to it. We were paid partially in these NFTs, cryptocurrencies. And I mean, what was your experience with that from your view of it?
I mean, kind of like what we've discussed here. Honestly, I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of that being an option. Especially as I learned more about it. I think it became less and less of something that I wanted to be part of, not just as a consumer, but as a studio, as a content creator, because the way it's been handled, anything associated with cryptocurrencies or NFTs or anything like that, it's slimy, man.
Yeah, the reputation of NFTs is very stained, and so if anyone at this point says, "Oh, my game's gonna have NFTs in it," that's an immediate stain on their own reputation, because no one likes NFTs in games. Like everyone's gonna immediately think that it's a lazy cash grab, which I would say for most implementations of NFTs in video games, that has been the case. Which is why the major companies quickly backed off of that push, because
they learned their lesson. Like, this is not going well from a PR standpoint.
Yeah, because they didn't dive in at the start because they were watching. They were watching the other smaller projects and how they were going in the public perception, and so they talked about the NFTs some. I mean, I guess Ubisoft actually launched something, but yeah, they've seen how that's gone, so that's why they've backed off, because they know that it's a hit to their reputation. And well, when you're a big company and you take a hit to your reputation, stock goes down, and that's bad for them.
I'd rather pay monthly than play games. I agree, Predacious. I'd rather. And here's the thing. Now we're getting into the different types of models of gaming when it comes to
monetization.
Monetization. You have subscription, you have free to play, you have I can't remember exactly what this calls, but games like one-time buy-in, things like Guild Wars 2 is a perfect example. And honestly, they're one of the games that have done it the best. You pay for the game, you own it outright forever and ever. And if you want to support ArenaNet, yeah, you could buy stuff off the gem store. And for the most part, I'd say 99.9% of the stuff in there, you don't need to enjoy the game. You absolutely do not need to enjoy the game.
Or you could be World of Warcraft and implement every type of monetization. You could be buy-in, subscription, and microtransactions all in one package.
Oh boy, that fucking Activision Blizzard stank on it. Fun fact: so the litigation for by the Federal Trade Commission or committee, I can't remember which one it is, for the acquisition of Blizzard Activision by Microsoft, apparently it's probably going to go through.
Yeah, Microsoft won that legal battle. I know there's still a UK organization. Essentially, I think it's kind of like their version of the FTC is still fighting the acquisition. So there still is a block, but getting past the FTC was a
huge.
That was their pretty much biggest block for that acquisition.
Yeah. And that's a conversation for another time, though, because we can go down a whole other rabbit hole with that one.
Yeah, there's a lot to that whole fiasco. Yeah. It's pretty much comes down to a war between Sony and Microsoft.
Yeah, which is nothing new. They're always at each other's throats, trying to get as much of the community as they can.
Corner the market and all that.
Yep. Ah, boy. But I think that is with nothing really from the audience here. I think they're probably still trying to process everything. I don't blame them. I think we're going to call it there. And yeah, thanks for joining us as always.
Let's
Greg, go ahead.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the other things that we are doing.
Yeah.
Before we really close everything out here. Obviously, we do the update log every Wednesday night. Ideally, it's 7 to 8:30.
Yes.
We also do a Friday night stream, which is cyberpunk themed, and that is from 7 to 10. Definitely encourage you to join us for that. We kind of run our own way with the game, so it's not straight along Cyberpunk Redline, but it's a little bit of a homebrew piece because I'm a 2020 player myself. And we have potentially a new. I don't know if it's going to be a new stream or if we're just going to run alternating with a new game that is coming up. This one is not going to be well. We haven't decided yet, so I'm not even gonna get in there yet. We have a couple options that we're looking at too. And an FYI for anybody who is planning on going to Gen Con this year, I will be at Gen Con all 4 days, and I'm actually going as part of the Artelsaurian team. So check out the Artelsaurian booth, and you can probably meet me.
Yeah, go meet Greg. He's great. He's a great guy. And get you some Artelsaurian swag. Because if you guys haven't played any of their games, some good stuff. But yes, we also have a couple of guest speakers coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Start hammering out the details on that. But yeah, look forward to them. More information to come as we get closer to those dates. But yeah, so that is episode 11 of the update log. So thank you guys for joining us as always. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully you guys, again, as always, learned something to good bit of takeaways from this particular episode. But yeah, you guys have a good night, and we'll see you on Friday.